Hello, everyone, and welcome to Birth Your Vision podcast. And I'm your host, Hannah Kupoluyi. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is a special edition of our wonderful podcast this afternoon. So thank you all for joining us. And I'm your host, and I'm going to be guiding you on this amazing, incredible journey today. And guess what? In celebration of Black History Month, today we are saluting our sisters and also paying a tribute to all the innovators and the remarkable women in business. And so we have gathered here on the Birth Your Vision podcast to basically recognize and to also show powerful women how we can actually start to influence each other with the power of storytelling and also using our voice to mold and shape our world. And so in unity, we will be elevating all the wonderful women in this platform today and also elevating our narratives as well as sparking inspiration and also having meaningful conversation. And so today we are stepping into the spotlight as well as celebrating the magic of storytelling. And so stories have the power to actually inspire and to transform, as well as amplify our voices. And so in honor of Black History Month, we have definitely gathered some exceptional lineup of guests who are here tonight to actually share their experience, their journey, and their wisdom. And so together, we are going to be sharing our story and also taking you through our business journey, how we've been able to give birth to our businesses. And so I want you to sit back and relax and, get yourself a cup of tea or even a drink so that you can be empowered and be fully informed. And so our guests have stories that will touch your hearts and also challenge your perspective, as well as remind you of the incredible power of your voice. And so it's time to amplify our voices and shape our narratives. So let's begin this incredible journey. And so welcome once again to Amplifying Our Voices and Shaping Narratives, the power of our stories. And so without further ado, I want to welcome my very first guest, and that is Mary Moshope Adeyemi, an amazing woman. Wait till you hear all about what she has to tell us today. So Mary Moshope Adeyemi is actually a passionate, people-orientated person, and she is a purpose-driven impactpreneur who successfully walks and also, do the talk as well in terms of business and as well as on a social pursuit. She is an award-winning corporate and investment professional turned author, career strategist, and L&D consultant. Her company, Visible Strength Co., is an academy that actually helps career professionals to be able to create, transition into tech, and also to drive them into a purposeful and profitable, productive career. And so today she's going to be sharing her journey and her story with us. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome our first guest, the wonderful Mary Moshope Adeyemi. How are you? I hope you're well.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Thank you so much. That was such a mouthful, isn't it? But we got
Yes, it will make a little bit more sense as I'm moving along with the conversation. Yeah, but well done.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here. So I'm going to now introduce my wonderful second guest. She is waiting patiently, the queen herself, Nelza Katoja. So ladies and gentlemen, please drum roll. And so Nelza Katoja, she is actually the founder of Free to Embrace Me. She is an international speaker, MC, author of Soul of a Woman, A Journey to Self-Love. She's also an incredible poet by name of Queen of Self-Love and a mindset elevation coach. She actually guides professional women to reset, refocus, and to also reinvent themselves so that they can actually authentically and successfully lead in their feminine power. She is also a co-founder of Power Her House Elevation. I told you I've got some amazing women here today, and they're going to be sharing their stories. So welcome, Queen Nelza. It's great to see you live on the Birth Your Vision podcast show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's been a while. Thank you for having me again, Hannah. I'm honored once again to be in your space. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. And we do have another guest. She will be joining us shortly, and I'll be able to do an introduction And so today, let's us just move on very swiftly. I am excited to be here and happy, Black History Month to each and every one of you. And the theme is about saluting our sisters. And what does that mean, really, when we talk about saluting our sisters? I'm going to start with you first, Mary.
Wow, Selena Sister, such a phenomenal theme and mandate, really, I think I would say, for the month. And for me, it just means embracing everything that we and just a collective global community of Black women are, because we're not a monolith. We're multiple different things. We might have sort of a similar skin color, but we're very different, very dynamic. We all come from different backgrounds, and all of that is to be celebrated. And we have very different ambitions. And to say that, every experience and every sort of expression of who we are is valid, is accepted, and is just worthy of praise and celebration. And that's really what this theme and this sort of, I said, mandate really is for me this month. I just love it. It kind of feels like the culmination of my life's work in this month, and I'm like, they finally get it. They're finally having a month for us, because I mean, why not? Like,
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. You know what? I love what you said. It's about celebrating us. And why not? Because when you look at us, we are just incredible. We are fierce. We are sassy. We are vibrant. We are beautiful. We are courageous. We are everything all in one package. And we are extremely excellent at what we do. And it's all about celebrating our brilliance. Wherever you are in your business, wherever you are in your career journey, it's important as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, that you celebrate, you take time out to celebrate this month and every other month, because why? You deserve it. And that's what this program is all about today. Saluting you, Mary, saluting you, Nelza, and saluting Victoria, as well as myself and many of the queens, who are watching us. And also, kudos to all the wonderful gentlemen who are also supporting us and celebrating us as well. So over to you, Nelza. What does it mean to you when we talk about saluting our sisters?
I think for me, it's my most powerful subject, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just a reminder that we see you, people see us, we are enough, we're worthy, we're the most powerful spiritual being on this earth. We have the power to create, and just having this whole Black History Month to salute us is amazing, because then the next time we're saluting ourselves is in March, International Women's Month. I call it month, but really and truly we should be saluting and cheering each other on every single day, because as Queen Mary said, we do so much. We wear so many hats. We carry the whole world on our shoulders. So why not salute us? And doing it in honor of Black History Month makes it so much more, amazing that, it's to say, Black woman, I see you. I know what you're carrying. I know what you're doing. And this is your time to be saluted. And that's what it means to me.
Fantastic. I love that. I mean, I just want to welcome all our listeners to today's Birth Your Vision podcast. As I said already, I have some amazing, exceptional queens on the show today. So please grab your pen and your notepad, because you're going to be learning quite a lot from them, their journey, their experience, their successes, and their challenges as well. And so over to you, Mary. I really wanted to go to the beginning of how you were able to give birth to your business. Take us through that journey, and then straight after that, share your expertise and your special offers with us as well.
Thank you for that. I was on mute. I definitely say I would say that I am an accidental entrepreneur. I actually never wanted to run a business. It was not like sort of my intention. I'm a corporate girl. I've always been a corporate girl. I mean, you can run a business within a corporate. I've always been more of an intrapreneur, I would say. But like my business, or what is my business today, really stemmed out of two things. Number one, a lived experience, and number two, just this desperate passion and intensity about being part of the solution to said problem. And so for me, it was really that I came into the corporate space 15 years ago, maybe more, maybe 17 years at this point. So 17 years ago, I started sort of, working in corporate, and there just wasn't any rule book. People like me we were literally little dots in the room. There was no rule book of, no, first of all, there just wasn't a rule book of like, when you leave school or you leave academia, then what? You prep for university, and then it just feels like everything stops and you're thrown into the deep end. And then also beyond that, I had obviously the additional layer of being a woman, being a Black woman in a largely male, white dominated environment. And what that means is like the people that could potentially teach me and coach me, they didn't look like me. And so naturally there was no affinity. I couldn't easily build relationships and networks. I wasn't in the know, because I just didn't have people who were looking out for me. And so that kind of created, what I feel was like a very, very tumultuous start to my career. Maybe the first sort of 5 years, I was just trying to find my feet and I was waiting around. But eventually, grace, you kind of got there in the end, but with a lot of struggle. And I think I often wonder, like how many people are actually going through the exact same thing, coming out of academia, being very talented, ambitious professionals, just looking forward to doing the best that they can do at work. And then they get into work and it feels like you just keep on having false starts. And so that was really like my experience coming into the world of work. And then eventually through strengths coaching, the entry of a really important sponsor in my career, a lot of things started changing. Basically a coach sponsor really changed my entire trajectory of my career. And so as I started getting more senior, I basically started being exactly that for other people. I started basically being someone who would intentionally coach and mentor and sponsor, professionals generally, but in particular women and particular people who were, minorities within the workplace. And the more I did that, the more I was like, actually, this is such a talent and a gift for me. And that's kind of how I started then doing it and getting paid for it. But even then, it just wasn't like a business. It was just like something I did on the side and all of that. But, as the years kind of went by, I realized more and more that I would rather be doing this than actually doing the work that I was doing. And I was, in banking, I was a full-time functional banker. I was a risk manager and investor. And so I just realized like this was just more of, well, I love my career, but this is like my thing. This is my passion. This is the stuff that I wake up in the morning and I get really energized to do. And so really only about I started my company maybe about 6 years ago, but I was side hustling it through whilst working. 5 months ago, I moved full time. So now I run my learning and development consultancy full time. And with Visible Strengths Co., we are an academy. We work specifically with women in corporate spaces to help them build purposeful, profitable, and productive careers. As well as progressive careers, shall I say, is probably another way of thinking about it. And also we work with employee-centered organizations to help them create development programs that also serve, early career professionals in the workplace, particularly women as well. And so, yes, I feel like I'm currently sitting sort of in my life's work, as we say, for now. I'm still young, so that I'm open to that changing over time. But yeah, that I just kind of feel really excited to be able to serve in the way that I do, and with the services that I have. Yeah, so a lot of the things that we do in terms of services is really like one-on-one coaching programs, group coaching programs as well, and not just really necessarily just coaching. I'm a coach, what they call a coach consultant. So I basically train, I advise, but then I also have the coaching element to ensure that women are taking action on the things that they need to in order to achieve their goals. And then I also deliver workshops and talks and serve as a coaching resident at companies as part of my consultancy package.
Yeah. Fantastic. I really so much admire your strength, and just the fact that you wasn't even sure whether you were going to go into business. Do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden this reality, what should I say, this vision, this passion became a reality. And now you are one of the top in your industry. When I was reading your bio, I was absolutely just blown away by your experience and your charisma and your years of experience is just incredible, and it's something that I just want to salute tonight. And I just want to say thank you for being who you are and for really standing out and letting your light shine. And that's the reason why you are here today, to share your passion and your vision with every one of us. And I'm just looking at the comments. There's quite a lot of positive comments coming through after you've just finished saying that. Someone called Agina said, well done, good evening everyone, great story. And someone said, I love storytelling, good evening ladies. So thank you so much. Keep the comments coming. There is so much more that we're going to cover today, so thank you so much for that, Mary. Appreciate it. And yes, over to you, Nelza. Tell us how you were able to give birth to your business, and also share your expertise straight after that as well.
How long do we have?
So yeah, because Nelza loves to talk, and
it's not even that I like to talk, is that it's been a journey, and I'm going to try and shorten it as much as I can.
That would be great. Yes,
they say it takes 10 years to master, to become a master, and I started this journey 10 years ago, believe it or not. And it was through realizing, being in a corporate world as well, in financial service. No, it was tube lines. I was working in tube lines, and I'd worked in corporate from the age of 18, and I was in my 30s. And I just remember always going into work, doing a 9 to 5, and just feeling like I'm winging it, just feeling like I'm getting paid this amount of money to do what? And I never really felt fulfilled. I always felt like I can do this with my eyes closed. So it got to a point in my life where I was got made redundant twice. The second time I got made redundant, I said to myself, no, you know what? I need to start my own business and start my own thing, because I need to be in control of what it is that I'm doing. So I was going to fitness weekenders, and I absolutely loved what the fitness instructors were doing. So I said, you know what? I want to be a fitness instructor. Anyway, fast forward, I became a personal trainer. And I love the transformation I was giving women. I was helping them to transform their bodies. They were feeling great. I was feeling great. I was transforming my body. I discovered just, how strong I was, not just mentally as a woman, and I was a single mother at the time, but also physically. So I threw myself 100% in it. I used to be the go hard or go home type of girl, until I broke down. When I broke down, I gave up my business, felt like a failure. And I'd been going through a very difficult time in my life that went for about 4.5 years to 5 years. And I refused to take medication. The doctors had advised me that I should take medication, and I refused because I felt there was something within me that could overcome. Anyway, I discovered my own spirituality, my own spiritual journey. And I started meditating, affirmations, gratitude, all of the good stuff. And within a space of a few weeks, I started to feel better. And I realized, you know what? There is so much going on in my mind. However, this is not who I want to become. This is not the story that I want to stay in. This is not my life. And my daughter was a teenager at the time, and I had to ask myself 2 questions. Do I give up? Or do I stand up? Because if I give up, it's going to hurt her. She's going to carry my scars. Or do I move forward? And I made the decision that irrespective of what I was going through, I was not going to give up for my family or my daughter. And that's when I embarked in really discovering myself. And just like Mary said, I didn't start my company in a way to say, I'm going to make loads of money, I'm going to inspire loads of people. It was a lived experience that I went through. And I discovered the magic pill. And the magic pill, in terms of us overcoming, really and truly was loving yourself. I didn't know what this thing was, loving yourself, self-care or anything. But what I later came to realize is that what I suffered with for 5 years was burnout. It was a condition called body dysmorphic disorder, which is where you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like yourself. You don't like what you see. You don't love yourself. And it causes such mental health challenges that it kept me stuck. And I only realized I had this condition later on. So when I birthed my company, Free to Embrace Me, I wanted to support women in overcoming depression, overcoming anxiety, and learning how to love themselves and love their bodies. So I mixed my personal training background with dance, with words of affirmations, and I created this movement called Afro Kids Movement. After a while of doing this, I realized that as much as I love to help women feel good about themselves and transform their bodies, I love the speaking side. And all of a sudden, I started sharing poetry. People started liking what I did. I didn't realize I had a talent for poetry. Next thing you know, I'm writing a book. And that's what Soul of a Woman came from. Soul of a Woman came from my lived experiences of overcoming depression, overcoming body dysmorphic disorder, and anxiety into becoming a person I am today. From that, I was asked to share my story in various platforms in the UK, in London, and I'm originally from Mozambique. My first language is Portuguese. I also started to do that in platforms where I had a Portuguese audience, women that spoke my language, and now I've been going internationally. I've been sharing my story internationally. I've shared it in various platforms, and yeah, I guess that's how my journey became. My journey into entrepreneurship started from a breakdown to a breakthrough, from me birthing a company called Free to Embrace Me to then becoming an international speaker, author, and poet. I am, and the expert of self-love, the queen of self-love. So that's a bit about me.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for taking us through that journey. What I really wanted to say from what you've said, Nelza, it's basically, even though you had gone through body dysmorphia and you had a lot of different type of challenges along the way, what I really love about you is that regardless of the odds, regardless of the limitation that you were faced with, you became somebody who did not in any way want to allow imposter syndrome to keep you at that sort of stagnant level. You basically overcame by taking few steps. And then you also mentioned that you wasn't going to be taking the pill that you were prescribed because you felt like it's not about the pill, it's about finding a different way, a different route to really establish yourself, to really step out of self-doubt, of limiting belief. You know, you wanted to do something more for yourself. And if only, you know, many of us can look at ourselves in a different way and say to ourselves, you know, it's not just about being conformed to taking certain medication, but looking at other ways, you know, such as your story and your example that you've actually related to us today, that there are other opportunities. I know you love dance. I know that there were times that you used dance as a self-expression to help you get through your journey, to help you overcome many of your challenges. And even when you show your dance movement, it's almost like you're releasing an emotion inside of you, you know, giving birth to something great, to something beyond you, you know. So I just want to commend you for your story and, you know, for how far you've come, actually. So from a queen to a queen, I salute you and Mary, and also the wonderful Victoria will be joining us very soon. So thank you so much. There's quite a lot of people leaving a lot of comments in the comment section. And someone said, that just sounds like my journey. So when you finish speaking, Elsa, someone said, that just sounds like my journey. I'm just going to put that there so with that we can all see it. And it says, you know, I had to change my path for my daughter, and it has made me a better person. Absolutely. If only we can just one way or the other seek help and just find the right support to help us change our thinking, our mindset a little bit, we might be able to have a different story. And that's what we're focusing on tonight, the narrative. What is your narrative? The wonderful, exceptional guest speakers, they have shared a little bit about the birthing of their businesses and how they were able to scale through. You know, Mary mentioned that she actually wasn't even thinking of starting a business, but, you know, the passion and the interest that she had led her to where she is today. So I want to know what your story is. What is your narrative? So do share it in the comment section below. And just before we go into the panel conversation, which is going to be filled with lots of questions, and our exceptional guest will be talking through it, I just want to take this moment to welcome Victoria, who is going to be joining us now. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to see you.
Hi, everybody. Sorry.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi.
Great to
How's
see
everyone
you.
doing?
We are good. I hope you're able to catch a bit of the preview just before I welcomed you into our studios today. So without further ado, I would just like to introduce my third guest, the wonderful Victoria Akwagu. She is a proud Nigerian British woman of Delta Igbo speaking heritage. She is a mom of 2 beautiful children and a Christian. She is a serial entrepreneur. She is also a graduate and qualified with a bachelor's degree in cosmetic science from University of Arts London. She's also a qualified hairstylist and a beauty therapist, an experienced hair care professional who has actually mastered the skills and talent in the areas of hair coloring, natural and chemically processed hair care, and also hair loss management. And so Victoria is actually the founder of the Chocolate Beauty Box, an online beauty boutique for quality, premium, and luxury Black-owned beauty products and brands. You know, all this wonderful, lovely brand is showing, you know, showcasing Black beauty excellence and expertise that actually meets the beauty concerns of everyone. And so today it is an honor to welcome you onto the show today, Victoria. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. Really,
You
really
are
great. Thank
welcome.
you.
And I know that you wear many hats, but today you are here as, you know, the founder of the Chocolate Beauty Box. And so we would love to find out, you know, how did you actually give birth to your business, Victoria?
Well, with the Chocolate Beauty Box, it was birthed out of concern and passion to see Black-owned beauty brands showcased and visible, you know, in our beauty shelves, because they're rarely visible unless they're celebrity brands in most cases. So I had, you know, having had experience in retail, having had experience in manufacturing, having had experience as a salon owner, you know, the topic of discussion has always been, oh, especially in the salon, why don't we have our own products? Why don't we have our own brands? You know, and it's not easy, even if they are available, they're not easily found. And from then I thought, you know what, I took a sabbatical off of work, and I said to myself, I'm going to use this time to discover what it is I really want to do again. Should I go back into the salon or do something? And as everyone was home during the pandemic, as you all know, I decided to use that time to birth this vision of having an online beauty boutique for Black-owned beauty products and brands, specifically brands, just to give them that platform to showcase their products, the excellence and the performance of what they can do. So that's how that came about.
Absolutely excellent. You basically looked at the pain points and you look at the need of, you know, Black women. We love to look good. We love hair care products. We love our lovely hair. We, you know, we want to look great. We like skincare. And it's amazing that you were able to identify the gaps in the market and you were able to fill that gap in. And that's just incredible. And I just want to commend you for your journey. I know that you've had your ups and your downs, just like in any business. We've all had it. And it's important that we are able to come together collectively to share our stories, our journey, the power of our voices and the narrative so that it can be very much amplified. And I just want to say thank you so much. So I'm going to be leaving all your social media handles on our platform so that our listeners can actually just go straight over there to see how you can actually support them and also engage with you, as well as, you know, support you with your product and your services. So that's really amazing. So let's move on as we, you know, dive into our conversation panel today. And so, ladies, I just want to say, are you fully ready to engage and to also get into our discussion today in terms of our conversation panel? Excellent. So that's really good. So now we want to focus on the first discussion topic. And this topic is the importance of amplifying Black voices in entrepreneurship. And so my first question is, how do you believe amplifying Black voices in entrepreneurship contributes to a more inclusive and innovative business landscape? And so I would basically like to go to Mary.
I'm glad you went to Mary.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's some amazing words.
Go on, Mary.
Yeah. I mean, hugely important, right? Like in the end, as businesses, like gone are the days when a business can choose to just serve one demographic. Like I don't think we can get away with that. Back in the day, you used to have, we go into the beauty stores and they would tell you. I heard someone say the other day, gave an anecdote, really sad and horrifying, where a makeup brand basically said, she went to get some makeup and she went to the counter and they said to her, "Oh, we only sell makeup for normal skin." And that's exactly how they referenced it. Like we only sell makeup for normal skin. And so we've moved on so much from that. Organizations, can no longer serve just one race. They have to, the world is just so global, and any company that is not necessarily serving the width or the breadth of of demography is definitely failing. To specifically like your question around just the import of having that diversity, right? Like within entrepreneurship is exactly that. We need more companies and more entrepreneurs, more founders who are Black, that understand the Black needs to basically solve problems. Ultimately, what we do as business owners, as we've all shared, is solve a problem. You cannot solve a problem you don't identify with. You can't solve a problem that you can't see for yourself. Most of us started our businesses because of our lived experiences that Tom next door will never have, right? And so definitely so important that number one, serving, shall we say, amplifying the voices of Black entrepreneurs, number one, creates a space where these problems that perhaps have been left unsolved for a while actually get to be solved. That's the first thing. Number two, it attracts the necessary sponsorship to those businesses. Lots of Black businesses are operating under the radar for a number of reasons, whether it's the fact that we're still very much focused on subsistence as opposed to, growth and empire building. But many of them are sort of bootstrapping, getting money from family, and just building grassroots businesses all the way up. But what that means is that if we don't get the necessary sponsorship, we can't scale. We can't build businesses that last beyond a single generation. And those are some of the things that we need to break. And so that sponsorship, amplifying Black voices, will definitely create that sponsorship. And then finally, what I would say is just around just representation. Again, amplifying the voices of Black entrepreneurs, but even Black people in careers. Again, create something that younger people can then really, lean into as possibilities. I know people say that you can't be what you can't see. Whilst I believe that, I think you can also be something you haven't seen before, but it's just much harder. Right? Yeah. It's much harder to be something you haven't seen before. And so the more you're able to see yourself and picture, a potential future because somebody else's voice is being amplified, I think the more we basically just create an even bigger bench of potential Black people who are solving Black problems and even global problems, and just really building a more solid business landscape that our children would be proud to sort of, engage with in the future, right?
Absolutely. That is incredible. And that is actually spot on, to be quite honest. I love the things that you mentioned. You talked about representation, which is really key. You talked about, sponsorship, lots of ways of doing business, which I really totally agree with. And I think this is so important why we're having this conversation today, because amplifying Black voices in entrepreneurship, it's so crucial because it actually leads to more diverse and more dynamic business landscape. There's opportunities for all of us to be able to have different experiences, share different experiences, different perspectives, and also drive innovation and bring in some new ideas as well. And it's about driving change, making an impact, and also building each other up and also building our economy. So I think this topic is so crucial. And thank you so much for, really speaking about that, Mary. And over to you, Victoria.
Well, I can only just echo what Mary has already said, because I think she's wrapped it up, quite well. And just to add my 2 pence to that, I'll say we just have to continue doing it. Yeah. We can no longer stay silent. One of the concerns I've had over, and a trend that I've noticed over the last few years, is that we amplify our voices about concerns we have about lack of representation, about lack of this and lack of that, and then the volume goes down. Yeah. So we're not consistent with the amplification of our concerns and our voices in the whole narrative of being visible. You see, so it is our responsibility not to just amplify, talk about it, shout about it, do things about it, but keep it consistent. Consistency is key, so that there is longevity. You understand? There's longevity in what we create, like what you mentioned, Mary, with creating generational wealth and you passing things on to our children. It's not just about now. It has to be, you have to have the foresight to say that, in telling our story and getting seen, being in the spaces that we need to be, creating our own spaces as well, as a lot of us have done, is good enough to do that, but keep it consistent. I think that is absolutely fundamental in when we are creating these voices and talking about how we progress and how we just generally grow. Yeah. So longevity, consistency, and that will lead to longevity. So not just only amplify our voices when something negative happens, especially in the media, but when we do something about it, make sure that when we have a solution to whatever issue we have, we keep it consistent. And that's what I will say about that.
Absolutely. I mean, you've already said it. Consistency is key. It's about just making sure that we have an initiative, an idea to continue to raise our voice regardless, and that we should never in any way feel pressured or tired of doing it, but we must continuously do it so that we're always being seen and we're always heard, which is very crucial. Thank you so much, Victoria. And over to you, Nelza.
Thank you so much for that, Mary and Victoria. I definitely echo everything that you're saying, and I was trying to come in with a different way of explaining this, how it's so important to amplify our voices, because it's not how a message is spoken, it's how it's delivered, right? Because in the past, we've been known to be angry Black women, we've been known to be aggressive, we've been known to be outspoken, we've been known to be loud, we've been known to want to tell everybody what's going on. But really, in reality is that we weren't given the spaces to speak, right? If we wait to be given the spaces, we will never have those spaces. We've had to create those spaces. But when we create those spaces, we have to know how to deliver the message to get the results that we are seeking. As Victoria was saying, if we keep on having the same conversations, we're going to keep having the same results. And if we only have these conversations when there's a tragedy, for example, when it's a death of a youngster, of a youth, or of crime, police crime, whatever it is, and that's the only time we use our voices, it's not consistent. Because when we only use our voices when those issues occur, it's like, we're only going to hear those voices when there's a tragedy. As soon as it goes quiet, everybody goes silent. No, it's about creating those spaces, stepping into them, and consistently talking the right talk to have a transformation and a change. Because at the end of the day, we all want peace. We all want love. We all want a solving of problems. That's why we use our voices. So it's important to be able to add that diversity and equality in the stages, because I'll give you one example. Probably about a year ago, I was speaking to somebody from the corporate housing background, and a person was saying, we really want to bring a speaker like you. However, I've heard certain other races get this much. However, it's difficult to pay our Black counterparts. And she was actually very honest about it. And I was like, why is that? Why is it that they will get paid more? Therefore, us and a Black people, the Black women and Black men who come to have the same conversations, the same delivering the same message, get paid less, really and truly is about that level of worth, level of self-worth. Are you going to accept the minimum, or you're going to accept the maximum? Really and truly, it's up to us to create those spaces, to ask for what we are worth, and not settle just because of the color of our skin. So for me, it's like, in order for us to really continue to share our voices, to amplify our voices, to have those spaces and step into those stages, it's got to be us coming forward. We cannot wait for somebody to say, okay, by the way, I want to invite you to speak. No, we've got to come forward, show our expertise, show what we are about, and share that the message that we're going to deliver is going to create a greater impact for everybody. We're not just going to be talking about it's just for Black people. No, we want to have peace and love in a whole world. Therefore, we're going to be delivering messages of healing, messages of transformation, messages of love, because that's who we are: feminine, women, nurturing, love, peace. And that's the kind of message that we're going to be delivering through nations.
Thank you so much, Nelza. I love the angle that you came in with that. I think it's so powerful because, and I also want to commend many of us who are now stepping out, many of us who are now challenging, the norm, many of us who are now changing our story, many of us who are now using the power of our voice to challenge our pay gap. Do you know what I mean? To challenge so many different things. And I think it's important that we also recognize those people, because sometimes it's very tough and it's challenging, to be able to stand up on your own. But I think progressively over time, we are now in a new season where we are calling it out and saying it as it is, and really changing the narrative, which is very important. And that's why I've created this platform, so that we can really find solutions on the way forward, and how we can challenge within our workplace, challenge within our, social circle, and, within our business as well, which is very important. And I love all the angles that you guys are coming in with many of these questions today. So awesome stuff. And so let's move on to the next one. So if you can share an example from your experience where the amplification of Black voices led to positive changes or even opportunity within your industry. I will go with you, Mary.
Yeah, I mean, within my sector, well, it depends on which sector. So within I would say my pre-sector, so like banking, that that makes a massive difference. Just when I see, as I existed in that world, 17 odd years, and you started seeing as more and more senior leaders were getting promoted, you could see the positive impact just on hiring statistics. More Black women were applying, more more ethnic minorities were applying, more women, more women in general were applying, because they were starting to see, like, they were starting to aspire, because now they could see somebody representing who they were. So I think that those are, like, those stories are, fairly common. I've even seen personally, when I started running our graduate recruitment team, again, the numbers jump up, everything changes. I remember a time when I was at work specifically, and sort of speaking about my own experiences, I remember a time when I was at work where we created programs. We created, people like me and other men and, allies as well, we created programs and started hiring directly from Sub-Saharan Africa directly into internship jobs here. When you are in the right seat, you are able to make those types of decisions and make those types of culture, changes, policy changes within the organization. When we had George Floyd, having people, when we had the situation with George Floyd, when people actually speak up and say, hey, this is actually the Black experience. Don't think that because we are in Britain, it is necessarily different. Yes, our police are not holding guns, but the some of the treatment that we get, it's not necessarily super different. And this is the reality of, and being able to, from that experience, really enact change around, starting to track numbers, how we had, not that we were hiring Black people, but they were not staying. So the question was just more like, what was the retention around, things like that. So there are definitely, lots of opportunities. I mean, and lots of results that have come as more and more people are speaking up, as more and more people are speaking up. Many years ago, and I still run it, but I used to have a talk show called Visibility. And, on that talk show was the role of that talk show was exactly this, was to amplify Black voices, Black female voices. And just seeing how my guests would come on the show, not know each other, meet each other, start doing business together, and suddenly cause a string of just positive impact, again shows the benefit of creating platforms, not just to inspire but also to connect, just so that, because again, we can definitely do more together, with all these things. So, I had a panel of authors come in, and one person that I met someone here, they coached each other, and now she's a published author on her second published book. She's somewhere in the US now doing also, and all of that started, in my studio. And so there's just so much power in sharing stories, not just for others, but even for ourselves, right? Because no one can connect with you and no one can support the work that you do if they don't even know who you are. And I think that's essentially the message. So, a bit of a long-winded answer, but yeah, I've seen so many positive benefits in doing exactly what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, because I feel like, inclusion is not just about ticking boxes, it's really about leveraging, a much more wider range of talents, experiences, to be able to kind of drive, growth, and to also be able to actually adapt to change, which is very important. And you were able to cover many of that, things that you've actually done, the way you've actually fostered a great culture. And also you continue to develop your learning and also help other people as well, which is incredible. Thank you so much, Mary. And what about you, Nelza?
Hi, thank you so much for sharing that, Mary. I was trying to find an example from the Portuguese perspective. And one example I can think of was, I speak in English. Most of my international speaking engagements or national speaking engagements have been in English. But for the past year, people found out that I could speak Portuguese, and I could actually speak Portuguese well, even though I didn't know I could speak very well. At first, I was very scared to speak in Portuguese, even though I speak with my family, because I came here at the age of 10. So my level of Portuguese was not formal. So I always had that fear of stepping into stages where I'm going to be met by formal Portuguese speakers. So that was a bit of a kind of a limitation for me. And the first time I got asked to speak at an event in Portuguese, and people heard me speak, they were actually quite impressed. They were like, okay, you're quite good at this. And I'm like, no, I'm better at English than I'm in Portuguese. And they were like, no, you're good at both of them. And I remember asking for some testimonials from a couple of events, one of them being Innovative Minds. And one of them had actually said, you were the first Portuguese and English speaker that we came across in London, in the UK. And I was like, oh, okay, that's different. I didn't know, because I've heard of so many Portuguese speakers internationally, but not really that many that are coming forward with the message that I have and the authenticity. And that's one of the things they say, you're so authentic. And the one thing that I wanted to share was there's these two amazing ladies that I connected with. And they first wanted to do an event with me. They were like, we're going to organize these two events internationally. One was in Luxembourg. One is going to be happening in Cape Verde very soon, and I'm going to be a panelist. They actually wanted to arrange an event with me, this massive event in their respective countries, and they wanted to bring me on board. Now, Hannah, you know me. I don't want to do all the hard work of organizing an event and going through the whole stress and everything like that. I'm like, just pay me to speak. However, the beauty of me working with them, and it ended up being a collaboration, was that I was able to support them from a background, but then still come in, deliver my message. But the beauty about it was, it's like I ignited something that was already with them. They already were powerful women. They're already powerful women. They already got a very strong message to share. They speak both Portuguese, English, and even French, right? They've done some events in their respective countries, but nothing to this degree. So it's almost like, okay, one of them said to me, Nelza, it's like you don't realize the power that you have. It's like you will ignite something inside of somebody. They start going with that idea, and then you step back And then it starts to happen, and we're like, oh shit, this is actually happening. And then they make the event happen, and then I step in and I do my 10-minute talk, right? Now their voices, their powerful voices, are going to be amplified. One of them was already amplified in Luxembourg. There's so many people literally bombarding this amazing woman, her name's Bia Moraes, with how amazing her event was. I was just a collaborator and supporter. I can't take any credit for it. They already had that inside of them. All I really did was kind of give them that little sisterhood cheering on. You can do it. If there was problems, they'd come to me. You know, the problem was, I'm not selling that many tickets. It's fine. Don't say you're not. Say, I am going to sell. Use the power of what you want to manifest. So I kind of acted as a guide and as a mentor and accountability through the process. And now their voices are amplified, and their voices are transforming the way people look at mental health, especially Black people, especially us, because it's a stigma, especially in Africa, to talk about mental health. We've got an event coming up in Cabo Verde, which is mental well-being for corporate organizations within human resources. And it's the first conference in Cape Verde that's happening on the 2nd and 3rd of November. The other one was in Luxembourg, which was opening up spaces for Portuguese businesses to promote themselves, to have their services, their products showcased, to have an easier access to be able to birth their own services or products or whatever it was. So for me, if I can really summarize that, it was me amplifying my own voice and going into stages, irrespective of the fear, also ignited them to be able to go, okay, now it's your turn. Just like you, Hannah, as you say, you send the elevator down up.
Yeah.
I kind of do that in a way as well, but I step back because I don't want all the hard work. I just want to go in there, deliver what I'm good at, and let them deliver. They're amazing organizers. They're amazing. You know me, organizing is not my thing, Hannah. So for me, it's like, you do what you're really good at. Let me do what I'm good at. And then together we can both celebrate at the end. So that's what I'd like to share.
Absolutely. That sounds incredible. And I know, a lot of things that you've done behind the scenes as well, and how you've now become, quite good in your field as an international speaker. So, I really do commend you for that as well, which is really great. And it's really good for us to know what we're really passionate about and what we really like to do. Some of us, even though we are coaches, we may just enjoy speaking better. Some of us, we may be good at, writing books better, whatever you feel, rocks your boat. That's what you should actually really sort of focus on and chase. Absolutely, which is incredible.
You've always said, Hannah, stay in your lane. I'm
staying in your lane and slay
with no traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea is to stay in your lane and dominate in your lane. Let people know that you are definitely slaying with no traffic, which is very important. That's one of my mantras I always share with many of the women within my network. And so great. Well done, ladies. We have covered the first topic, which is all about amplifying our voices, and you've all done an amazing job to be able to actually answer those questions, and thank you so much. Now let's move on to the next one, and we're going to be looking at the way in which we can actually look at the guest perspective. So that's you guys, on diversity and inclusion in the business world. Okay, so I'm just going to be asking one question around this, and I'm going to go to Victoria for this question. And this is, if you could you highlight a specific practice or even an initiative that you've actually implemented within your own business to actually promote diversity and inclusion? And I think you've actually kind of mentioned it at the beginning when you were talking about your business journey. So if you can just kind of maybe highlight one thing specifically to this question, Victoria, that would be awesome.
Okay, I'm going to take it back to when I had a salon.
Yeah.
So when I had a salon, even though we were known as an Afro hair salon,
yes,
I made my space very inclusive. And what did I do? It's an Afro hair salon, but I also was able to service European clients. So Caucasian hair, Asian hair, mixed textured hair. So because of my qualification in hairdressing, I was able to service those clientele. But at the same time, not just service, with my staff that I was able to take on, we had young people, especially young people who were very, very enthusiastic about hairdressing in those days, were of different backgrounds, even though we were an Afro salon. So some didn't have any clue. So when they came on work experience, a lot of them came off of the back of work experience, internship, and from making the tea and coffee, they actually stepped up to being able, they were kind of, a lot of them were very hesitant as to what to wash Afro hair, as an example. And through training, education, and telling them to, just coaching them on how to do it, it's not that difficult. Eliminate the fear and step up. You can do it. And before they left, a lot of them, sort of generated that interest to want to go ahead and be able to practice doing Afro hair types, even though that was not their original area of study. So they were surprised to know that, oh, so you can do, even things like doing highlights. I mean, you're in college, for goodness sake, but some of them weren't being taught. Because I remember when I was at college doing hairdressing and beauty therapy, the mainstream teachers, majority, we had one black teacher, Sandra Gittins, and, she offered the Afro module outside of the main modules of hairdressing. Why? Because she was a black lady, an Afro person. So, and it wasn't mandatory. It was optional for you to pick that subject, Afro hair care. So obviously, all the majority of the black children and black young people on the course wanted to do that course. So when young people come to me to do work experience, their hairdressing salon, we've got all these reviews. They want to know, when they come, some of them are surprised that we're an Afro salon only, or not only, but that majority of our clientele are Afro. But through education and coaching and training, they now generate this interest and realize, oh, I am capable. So that's part of being diverse, creating that diverse space for people to know that it can be done, and giving them that power and encouragement to know that it can be done. Anything's possible. You understand? So that's an example I would like to use on how we were able to create diversity in the business.
Yeah, I love that example, Victoria, because it shows diversity, inclusion. It shows that you're able to support other cultures who wants to learn Afro hair beauty, which is very important. And the fact that it wasn't even mandatory. Do you know what I mean? Which now I think it is, isn't it?
Now it is.
Yeah.
It depends on your college.
Yeah, right.
It really does depend on your college, because I also have a friend who's a lecturer at Lambeth College, doing hairdressing. She's been doing it for years now. And she tries to get all her students. I mean, she has sent me students for work experience when I had the salon, like I said. And, when we have our discussions, some of those students are still resistant. Some students are resistant on working or learning about Afro hair.
Yeah.
So it's just a box to tick that they've been able to shampoo an Afro hair, they've been able to blow dry an Afro hair, but to go down into to know that the true science of Afro hair, some of them are not very interested.
Yeah. And when you look at social media now, you can see quite a lot of people who are doing lots of hairstyling, sort of braiding, plaiting, all this kind of stuff, and it's all different cultures now. There seems to be a different shift, a change in people wanting to learn Afro hair, and
that's because we set the trend, as always.
Yeah,
we set the trend as always. When we're able to style our hair and replicate it on European textured hair, on Asian textured hair, and they're amazed, and then they want to replicate what we do on their hair. So that's why like you said, there's this uplifting trend of people doing the hairstyles that we do. I mean, recently on TikTok, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but there's Korean hairdressers actually doing Korean hair, turning it into afro. They're setting it on the finest and finest and finest of it. It's like pins that they perm the hair on, and by the time they've combed it out, it does look like an afro.
Absolutely. It's amazing how we inspire so many different people from different cultures with our own culture. And I think that is what we're celebrating really this Black History Month, saluting ourselves and how far we've come. And, diversity and inclusion, these are definitely the cornerstone of thriving businesses, thinking forward and really changing our environment, also bringing other cultures and other people into what we do as well, which is incredible. Thank you so much for throwing light on that. I think that was really well executed. And so we will go on to the third topic, and that is really strategies for empowering others within the Black community. And so the first question around this is, what strategy or even approaches have you found effective in empowering and supporting others within the Black community, particularly in entrepreneurship? So I'll start with you, Nelza.
Can you repeat that question again? I'm trying to.
Absolutely, yeah. So what strategies or even approaches have you actually found effective in empowering and supporting others within the Black community, particularly in entrepreneurship?
I would say the power of authenticity. Really being yourself. And when I say being yourself, showing up in your afro hair, showing up in your hoop earrings. I remember a client found me on LinkedIn because she said, Nelza, I wanted a coach that looked like me. And when I saw this woman with these hoop earrings, and I had these hoop earrings that said, I love myself first, but they had the African colors, right? She said, I saw you doing a live, and I'm sure it was one of our podcasts, Hannah. And she said, no, I need to connect with this woman. But she just wanted to connect with me. And when she connected with me and she discovered the program that I had, even though she was on benefits, and she said, I didn't come to you with a program, I've got to do your program. When she finished my program and she wanted to become a nature coach, she became a nature coach. So for me, it's being yourself as you are, showing up as you are. I mean, if I've got a life, for example, and I've wanted to do this so many times, and I think I'll do it, I want to show up with no makeup. I really do. One day I want to be able to stand on stage and just get a wipe and wipe my makeup off, right? I haven't done that yet. But it's really being your authentic self and being raw and real, right? Removing that mask, because too many of us, before we go online or before we go on stage, you put in this mask of this strong, independent woman that's got it all together. You don't show emotion. You're not going to connect with people. You literally have to allow yourself to just be in your emotions, in your feelings. And that's when you've got emotional maturity. So for me, in order for me to really engage in the strategies that I use when I speak, when I coach, when I just show up, when I'm around, I'm myself through and through. You don't see a different face to me. What you see is the reality. And if you're not gonna be okay with that, then you're not supposed to be my circle. Maybe I'm not for you. So it really is the power of being yourself. And a lot of people come back to me, even if they haven't worked with me, and they say, you know what, Nelza? It's because I heard something you said or something you shared that I realized I just got to be me. I can't keep pleasing other people. I can't, a young entrepreneur came to me and recently and said, Nelza, I want to say thank you. Since I met you a year ago, I realized that my role is not just to be a dad. My role is not just to be a family man. I've got to pursue my dreams. I just want to thank you. It's because you said I've got to be me, and I've got to be me, and that's it. Just giving people the light to say, when you're yourself, you can create anything and be anything. And when you're yourself, you can give more of yourself to others. So that's my strategy, just being authentic.
Excellent. I love that. And what about you, Mary? I'll just put the question there.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, thanks for sharing that answer. I want to kind of pull back into like more sort of practical things, and I think this is where sometimes we get sort of lost in the feeling of it, and not necessarily like what is the ecosystem that supports some of the things that we're trying to do. So in terms, I guess the question is, what strategies and approaches will be effective in supporting the Black community within entrepreneurship. And I think I mean, there are many that are coming to mind as I'm thinking. Probably the ones that I would highlight, of course, are around things around sort of role modeling and mentorship, definitely strategies around that, being able to create spaces that connect aspiring entrepreneurs to successful Black leaders, right? That's definitely one thing. It's one thing to have an idea, it's another thing to have a strategy and know exactly what you're supposed to be doing every single day. How am I supposed to, start this business without any capital? How am I supposed to connect to the customers that I need to connect to? How am I supposed to build a team, pay people, have good credit, all of those things. Mentorship and role modeling around that is definitely an important sort of pillar that is necessary in terms of supporting the Black community on their entrepreneurship journey. Of course, goes without saying that access to capital, and any initiatives that really pull together access to capital in a way that is sustainable, right? I think we've often seen, Black entrepreneurs, because they're looking for capital, they sell too much of their businesses. They give away too much. They give away too much of their equity. They're not really necessarily smart about the type of capital they should be raising at any one point in time. We're seeing more and more the influx of Black businesses that are raising capital without even knowing how to make money. There are people that are all over the internet talking about, we raised 10 million, it's almost like raising is the goal. And it's like, no, how does your business make money? That's the important thing. If your business cannot make money and you go away to raise money, that's where you get into trouble. We've unfortunately seen many businesses recently, especially past the COVID era, where they were able, or past the George Floyd era, where everybody was giving Black businesses money because it was the cool thing to do, suddenly the cool thing to do. Unfortunately, the lack of providing the right kind of capital means that those businesses are now going bust.
Yes.
Those businesses were formed on premises that didn't make sense. There was no support, there was no good team, there was no nothing. And now many of them are moving on, and investors are just willing to investors are expected to just kind of fold their hands and do nothing. But unfortunately, in the way our world is set up, every time a Black business fails, it causes a problem for every other Black business. We don't get to get away with failure, right? There's nothing like Black mediocrity. You are either going to be excellent, which is a bit sad, but you have to be excellent to just be normal, right? To just be okay and accept it. So I think spaces that create access to different types of capital, not just equity, right? Because that might not be the right thing. So loans, grants, venture capital, angel investors, all the series, when we get to when you grow big enough and you can access sort of the series A, series B, series, we rarely get there, to be fair. But being able to say to someone, hey, let's support you with grant funding before you even start thinking about getting a loan might be the right thing for your business. Anyway, that's a kind of a side. Of course, we're seeing a lot more business incubators and accelerators. I think that those are great spaces. There's so many amazing ones out there. Founder Vine, Neo Network. There are quite a number of them that are providing necessary, not just mentorship, but training, skills development around running a business that I think people are super, super helpful. And then I would also touch on, policies and procedures. I think sometimes we're often, we think very inward, like what should I be doing as an entrepreneur? What should entrepreneurs be doing? But also, what is the ecosystem? Right? What is the ecosystem that's supporting them? So when you think about that, what does that mean in terms of policy, right? Are there specific policies and legislation that perhaps might actually be working against Black entrepreneurs that we don't know, haven't really looked at and opened up, right? So if there are certain rules around sort of people who can get types of housing or access certain types of funding or go to certain places or, sit on certain seats, those kind of policies holistically need to change. Even within businesses, right? One of the things that I've been doing a lot lately is around things like supplier diversity. We've been hearing a lot about corporate organizations saying we're going to hire more Black people, we're going to hire more Black people. But beyond hiring more Black people, right? Who are the suppliers? When you look in the back end and you look at your procurement, do you have diversity in your procurement? Like, are you buying paper and pens from the exact same people year in, year out? Who's supplying your towels? Who's supplying your tissues? Who's supplying your staff uniforms? Who's turning on the lights? Who's fixing the thing? All of that, supplier diversity is like a big thing, and ensuring that companies have policies beyond the visible to also go into spaces that nobody really sees. So the back end, the driver of the operations of the business also needs to be just as diverse, right? I think, I can go on and on and on about this stuff, right? Like financial access to technology, creating spaces for even like solid digital presence without fear. And I think maybe the last one I'll mention is just around mental health and just pressure. I highlighted a lot around I highlighted a little bit about like, we don't get to fail because the burden of failure is so significant for Black people. We walk around that way. Many times, the inability or the lack of freedom to fail means we're not growing, means we're not able to try new things. We're not able to push ourselves into spaces because we just keep thinking, I can't fail. I can't afford to fail. It can't be me. I can't run out of business. And whereas the average white entrepreneur learns from failure. Like they literally go through failure, like, and they get to recover. And, I always often wonder, what is the mental health toll of that type of burden and that type of pressure on the average Black entrepreneur, right? The pressure to always be right, the pressure to not make mistakes, that doesn't feel like a life. That doesn't feel like a way we run our business, right? So I think definitely having access to mental health support, access to, again, just an ecosystem and incubator that allows Black entrepreneurs to fail without reproach, is, definitely a solid one. But I'm super passionate about this topic, as you can probably see. Beyond just saying, okay, we need more Black entrepreneurs, is how are we protecting Black entrepreneurs and giving them the tools to have longevity?
I absolutely agree with you. Thank you so much for covering that. I can see the passion coming through on that particular question itself, which is really incredible. And you've actually covered quite a lot of things that I also had in mind as well. And thank you also, Nelza, for also creating that sort of personal space as well to be authentic. And so for me, it's about, Mary already mentioned it, it's about mentorship and education. I think that is so crucial because when you provide aspiring entrepreneurs with the tools, with the knowledge and the support that they need to succeed, that is just incredible because you've basically set them up to be able to win rather than fail, isn't it? So, it's very important that we are creating networks and the platforms for each and every one of us to be able to, showcase the work and to also connect with other opportunities and things that would help us to elevate ourselves to the next level, which is really important. It's about helping us to pave the way to a more and better diverse, successful businesses. And also, looking at different programs, especially funding, can be very difficult sometimes for us to get access to. Even sometimes getting mentorship within the Black entrepreneurial network is so, is so important. And sometimes, sometimes we kind of miss it. And I think all these things are very, very vital. We need to start looking within to see how we can also perhaps create the platform or maybe join those who already, created a platform so that we can all work collectively, because I think it's really important when we talk about, how can we empower others within the Black community. So it's about education. So it's about mentorship. It's about representation. It's about, creating initiative, funding for our networks for us to be able to grow, an opportunity for us to be able to invest in each other's business and buy from each other. So there's so many, many layers when it comes to supporting one another. And thank you so much for that, Mary, for covering that in such a big, massive way. And I just wanted to ask you as well, Victoria, if you had anything else to add to that point as well.
Very quickly, I'll just say both speakers have touched on it beautifully. And I think mentorship, like I said, I think we need that kind of American system where they have a big brother, big sister kind of program going on for business here in the UK, especially for the our Black community. And it's not just enough for us to create those initiatives to support people in the entrepreneurial journey, but the receiver has to also come with an attitude of gratitude, to receive this this wonderful gift that people, because it's people's time, it's people's expertise, it's people's money in some cases, where we're trying to invest in the community to grow the community, but the receptors, the people that we're creating these spaces for, creating these initiatives for, have to come with that attitude of gratitude to know that it's for their benefit. And how do we do that? In educating them as well, so that they can see the benefit for themselves. So having podcasts like this and shows like this, and airing it as frequently as possible, to airing it, sharing it as frequently as we can, so that they get the message that we have things available for you. Come and take it up. Come and engage, so that you know how to apply for funding, you know how to do your taxes, you know how to get the right coaching and support for your particular specific business and industry. I mean, we spoke about this on Saturday, where we said, that it's important to have the right coach for the right industry, so that you know how to excel. Nelsa, you mentioned it, you want people who are above you, so that you don't just want any old person in that industry. You want somebody who's already on top, so you can aspire to be at that level. But in most cases, people are just getting coaches for the sake of getting a coach, getting mentor for the sake of getting a mentor, but they have to get one specifically for their industry or the area in which they want to grow. And I think that's an important strategy for any entrepreneur, sorry, pardon me, to growing, if you get what I mean. So you want to start a business, who do I go to? You get a good business advisor, first of all, to know the kind of area of business that you want to go into. You've got your ideas, you've got this, that, and the other, and then don't be ashamed of the support. I was like that. People used to say to me, even when I had the salon, people used to say, "Oh, I think you need a mentor." I said, "Not for me. What for? No, I'm all right. I know what I'm doing." But it's only in hindsight that I can now say, you know what? Actually, if I had listened then, maybe this is where I would have been now. But you live and learn. So, and one of my mottos is, you don't have to go through the experience to learn from the experience. You can learn from other people's experiences to be able to know what to do. So you don't have, when they say, "Oh, that fire is hot," and they say, "Oh, let me touch it to make sure it's hot." No, that's silly. Someone's put their hand in it and told you it's hot. Learn from that. So yeah.
Thank you.
That's my mummy hat coming on. Sorry.
I was just about to say that. We have been schooled tonight. Thank you so much. It's so true. It's so true. So there's opportunity for mentorships out there. It's about really digging in and doing your research. There's so many opportunities out there, especially within this year and previous year, for mentorship and support. So it's very important that we definitely do not even think of just not doing anything with our business or even with our career. So having mentorship is very important, which is very crucial. Absolutely. And just very swiftly, we've got just 2 more questions to go through. And so the 4th one is basically about podcasting. I've been podcasting for the past 2.5 years. And it's definitely completely changed my life. I've been on different shows. I've had opportunities for magazine features. I've been featured on so many different, publications, and also won an award for this. And it's about the power of storytelling, sharing my story and also supporting others through giving birth to their vision, and also inviting exceptional guest speakers to come and share that journey. And so podcasting and storytelling has definitely changed me and changed my life and my own perspective on business. And so to you ladies, I just wanted to ask you, if you can just give an example of how you've been able to use podcasting and storytelling to be able to, use it within your business, and how has it actually helped you, especially to connect more with your audiences and stuff like that. So I'll start with you first, Nelzia.
I knew you was going to start with me. Well, I have a story to tell, right? I was supposed to have started my podcast like a year or two ago. However, because I didn't want to go through the hard work, I had one conversation with Hannah and then I parked it there. I just like to be a guest. I will start it eventually. However, I use my book. My book really is my storytelling method, in a way that I share my story as a speaker, as an author, to I invite people on platforms. So for example, I will do lives, I will do Zoom calls. We just did a Mindset for Success Lunch and Learn on LinkedIn. So I use those platforms in order to share my story. And I know how powerful a podcast can be. I just have to get started. So Hannah, I'll probably be coming to you very, very soon. So you can set up all this beautiful stuff for me. And then I can just speak. Over to one of you queens.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, indeed. I think it's so important for us to be able to use our platform to be able to share, many of the things that we do, and we do so well. So podcasting can be used for business. You can use it to share your offers. You can use it to share your coaching services. You can even use it to amplify your voice and change, the life of other people in terms of impacting them, sharing your story. There is so many things that you can use podcasting for, but I always encourage many people to use it for business purposes. It's almost like a marketing tool, actually, to help you to gain more brand recognition, help you to be well positioned in your industry, and also for people to be able to see you. It opens a lot of doors for you to become guest speakers in other people's, events or summits. And then you're also being called to come and speak as well. So it's really an amazing storytelling tool. And over to you, Mary. What has podcasting in any way, provided for you as a businesswoman?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had a talk show before, and that sort of yielded
Yes.
benefits in terms of amplifying other people's voices, but also amplifying a very specific message about, Black women being capable, about Black women being, incredibly powerful and dynamic and different and not a monolith and all of that. And those were all great stories that were that I was able to leverage that platform to share. And I'm actually intending to go back to doing it. And I think that that's just a powerful message. But beyond that, I leverage storytelling as well as podcasts in completely different ways. So I'm also an author. So I wrote a book, Visible Strengths. And, so in here is sort of my story, but also the story of many women, stories of many women that I interviewed, men and women professionals that I interviewed, and just how to see how like the audience and like sort of my author community resonates not just with the concepts and the framework, but in particular the stories. They can see themselves in the stories, and so it suddenly makes something feel like it applies to me. I too can do it because I can see a reflection of myself through this person's challenge or through their story. I think is so powerful. I've leveraged podcasting significantly in growing my business. Through podcasting specifically, my book is actually now available across 5 continents. But that all really just happened because of the power of podcasting, of reaching out, of having podcasters reach out, or even, my team reaching out to podcasters globally. And then suddenly we're having conversations in the US, we're having conversations in Australia, we're having conversations in Europe, we're having conversations in Nigeria. But it's all about like, and obviously, here in my sort of home country, but it's understanding the power of platform. And now it's a world that we're living in where everybody gets to have a mic. It never used to be the case, but understanding that the power of that means you get to tell the story from your own perspective. You get to share stories and amplify the messages that you want to amplify. And you get to really leverage, a pretty pretty straightforward, easy enough access points to push your own sort of, you know, your work, your services, to reach audiences that may otherwise not even find you. You know, so it's definitely been hugely beneficial for sharing my message, and in particular, like, you know, building my business and my brand. Yeah.
Absolutely. I totally love that. Congratulations on many of your successes and your achievements as well. And I did look at your amazing talk show, which is really incredible. And I hope you can actually resume it back again, because it was such a great show. And I know it's a lot of work. I know what it's like to be a host.
Yeah, it's such a lot of work. I mean, we did it. We had a good
Yeah.
run. We were on TV. It was fantastic.
Yes, it really was.
I build the whole team, so I'm
Yeah.
literally looking for all the power team to come. Because
So hopefully 2024.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. And over to you, Victoria.
Well, this is my first podcast. So
we celebrate you.
Thank you. I've not officially been on podcasts apart from this one now, but I've had platforms. I've been fortunate to be given platforms where I've been able to, you know, share my story and talk about my business. And that's been on radio, and that's been on TV. So, and also on social media. So not officially a podcast, but yes, there's been platforms where I've been opportuned to come and speak about what I do, how I got started, and even publications, as in magazines and stuff like that, when, you know, especially when I had my salon. And it really, really helped grow the business, give us visibility that, you know, that helped our business grow. And I'm, you know, I'm positive about now coming into podcasts and other platforms again, to be able to share this new journey that I've started in this new venture, just to give people hope and encouragement that, you know, again, like Mary said and Nalda said, you have this opportunity to amplify your story about how you got started, so that people can relate. I used to shy away from it before when people said, "Oh, tell your stories, tell your stories." I said, it's not their business. I said, why is it their business? How what I went through? I don't. Sorry, I'm switching here. But why is it their business? If I had a cat that died, I said, this is no X Factor, Popeye, do all of that rubbish where everybody has to cry and tell them. Then they say, no, but you don't know who can relate. And so I'm taking that on board now, and, you know, hopefully being able to again share my story, how I started, what gave me the gumption to start, you know, and hopefully it can encourage someone to do the same. If they have a dream, a vision, that you can, you know, if I can do it, if she could do it, so could I.
Yes, absolutely. So can you. I think we can all do it. We just have to overcome our fears, isn't it?
Yeah.
And overcome sort of stepping out of the box, you know, out of our comfort zone, because nothing really happens in a comfort zone until you step out into the growth zone. That's when you see, wow, there's endless possibilities. And what happens anyway when you step out of that box? Nothing but greatness. So why not even do it in the first place? So I'm really proud of you, Victoria, for saying yes, because you could have actually just not showed up, but you did, against all odds.
Against all odds.
And you're so confident. And I love that about you, Victoria, because you are someone who naturally talks and just shares stories anyway. I would say that you're a storyteller, you know, and you're just you, and you're very funny with it, which is very good.
Thank you.
I would encourage you to go to more podcasting and take some tips from Mary, myself, and Nelza as well, because, you know, we've been on quite a few.
Need to get the notes out.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. So I'm just looking at the comments. Oh, wow, there's some few questions here. So I'm just going to go to Mary, who said, what did she say? How do you successfully get a mentor in one's industry? So, for example, wellness coaching. So I'll go straight to Mary. Just one pointer.
Ask.
Ask, as simple as that. Yes, ask.
Just ask. I mean, obviously, identify who you think, I mean, you have a mentor specific to an area. You don't necessarily, there's not like a life mentor. There are people that are mentors because they've achieved, they have demonstrated competence or achievements in a specific area, or one or two that you admire or go, so be very goal orientated around like who you want to be a mentor. So you can have a business mentor. In fact, you can have a business, like a business sales mentor. It can actually be as niche as that. It doesn't have to, you can have a mentor in operations, you can have a mentor in sales. It doesn't have to be one big thing. You can have a mentor as pertains to your family, your kids. You can have people, or the point is just this: they've gone ahead, they've done the thing you want to do, and they have done it successfully and in line with how you want to do it as well. So it's not just what they've done, but how have they done it? Is it something you actually want to replicate? Once you can identify that person, just reach out. Again, the world has just changed so much. Back in the day, I want to get a mentor, you go and queue somewhere, you wait for them to potentially pass, you jump into them. Now, 6 degrees of separation. You can find mentors on LinkedIn. In the wellness industry, you can you can post something on social media and say, hey, I'm looking for some guidance. Tag a successful woman in the wellness industry, put a post on your stories. People will come back to you, and then now your job is to go out and look at those people that they've tagged and see, like, what is this person's pathway? What is their trajectory? Do I like what they're doing? Do I like how they've done it? Do I think they can give me advice? Are they open? Are they authentic? Or are they just doing everything for the gram? You have to gauge sort of content, beyond just content. You need to gauge like character, and then now make the ask, but that's just the strategy before. But the point where you win or you lose is ask. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Absolutely. The power of asking is that eventually you will receive and you will get. So if you don't ask, then things just remain the same. So make sure that you ask.
And you
I hope that
receive.
answers the question. And what about you, Victoria?
Yeah, I would say the same as Mary. You do have to ask. You do have to do your research. We mentioned earlier before that ask for the industry that you're going in. That's what's important. I learned it. You learn something new every day.
Absolutely.
And like I came across a guy on Instagram who said he started his business, blah blah blah, made how much figures, and then he thought he wanted to go to the next level, asking for a coach. Somebody recommended a coach. He paid 1,000 something an hour. Yeah, I could afford it, but it was the worst £1,000 an hour that he spent. Because why? It wasn't the right coach for himself. He wasn't the right coach for his business. So do your research, ask questions. Well, even in your area of employment, even if it's at work, your top line manager, you can ask them to mentor you so that you can grow as well. But in business and entrepreneurship, in our community, we have great mentors and people who want to be mentors. And LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, they're still there. And just good old Google. Go on Google and type mentor for da 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 da. And once the list comes up, you start to do your research to find out who's best for you.
Absolutely. And the same question to you as well, Nelza.
I don't know why the voices keep coming to me saying, don't believe the hype, right? And the reason why I say don't believe the hype is that nowadays, excuse me, my daughter's cooking us a lovely meal. Everybody's a coach, right? Everybody is a coach. Now, the way that I seek a coach is I become the employer seeking my next staff member, right? So what do? You check out their credentials, and not just what they do in terms of a title. Check out their history. You can go on LinkedIn now. You can watch some podcasts they've been on. You can see them in action. So when I'm seeking a coach that I want to take me to that next level, I start showing up at their free, because coaches are doing a lot of free talks, free podcasts and all of that. Start watching them. Start seeing whether you really connect with that person. Because if you're going to part with your money, and you have to do the work, because you as the coachee has to be able to do the work. If you're going to be doing the work and you're going to be paying somebody to support you and hold you accountable for doing that work, you want to make sure that you've got a good connection, and you want to make sure that that person is most importantly walking a talk and talking a walk. Otherwise, you're going to be like Mary, or not, I don't think it was Mary, but the person that Mary talked about, where they invested £1,000 an hour to a coach and got terrible results. You know, I will look at a coach. Most of my coaches have been females because I can connect with them. But one day I said to myself, you know what? I want a coach in the US, because some of the American coaches are on a different level, right? Not because they're better, but they just do things differently. Now, this coach was an author. He had a best-selling book, a few best-selling books. He also had a strategy in terms of when he speaks, he asked for two things. So he knew the hierarchy of how much I could ask as a speaker, whether it's a keynote speaker, whether it's a 2-hour speaker, and then to be able to say, okay, if I'm not going to be paid at this rate, okay, I can now sell my books. That way I'm making an income. So I thought, okay, he's a speaker, he's an author, he's a coach, and he's a man. I want to see what it's like to be coached by a man. And I got amazing results with him. So just really do your background research, but don't just take it from a notebook, because for me personally, I really want someone who's lived it, who's lived the experience, has a story to tell, because they can understand my story and they can support me in amplifying my story and my voice as a speaker. So I hope that's helped, Mary.
Absolutely, yes. So Mary says thank you to each and every one of you for helping her to answer that question. So yes, thank you so much, ladies. It's been just an amazing opportunity to be able to just have this wonderful conversation with you guys. You've definitely really nailed every single discussion topic that we've had today in amplifying our voices. You know, you are all just incredible, doing amazing work within your field. You are definitely slaying in your own lane with no traffic, and you are dominating. So you all deserve a round of applause. So well done. Congratulations. And we made it. You know, it's a wrap. I am so excited to continue on this conversation, you know, on different ways that we can actually continue to find opportunity to amplify a voice, to remain consistent. I remember Victoria saying consistency is key. It's very, very crucial. And, you know, we must keep going, continue to have this kind of conversations. And so just finally, I just wanted you all to basically just share where people can actually find you. I've already left many of your social media handles in all our comment section. So I'll start with you, Mary. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, so I am available on most social channels. In particular, Instagram is my primary channel. So you can find me with my name, so Mary _Adeyemi. That's my personal page, or Visible Strengths Co., which is our business page, or Visibility, which is our talk show page. So either way, you can definitely find me there. I think once you find me, you'll find all of the other things I'm involved in. And on LinkedIn, it's just searching my name as well, Mary Adeyemi, and you'll find me there as well. So those are my two primary platforms. Not much of a Twitter warrior. Still trying to figure out Threads. Definitely not TikTok. Yeah, so LinkedIn or Instagram, yeah, you'll find me.
Excellent, thank you. And Victoria, how can people find you?
You can find me for my personal page is Victoriously Glorious, but if you type in my name, Victoria Akwago, it will come up on Instagram, Victoriously Glorious. My business page is The Chocolate Beauty Box on Instagram, and on TikTok, The Chocolate Beauty Box. And then on LinkedIn, my name, Victoria Akwago, and also on Facebook. But I tend to function mainly on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. But Instagram posts my stuff onto Facebook anyway. So yeah, that's where you can find. And then you can visit our website, www.thechocolatebeautybox.com.
Excellent, wonderful. And you as well, Nelza?
Right, you can find me anywhere. Just type my name. But I've got so Nelza Katoja on Instagram, and I've also got Free to Embrace Me with a number 2 in the middle. That's the name of my company, Free to Embrace Me. And now I post a lot of more the creative stuff, the poetry, the reels, the coaching, the being an authentic woman. On Nelza Katoja on Instagram, it's more about unleashing your feminine power as a speaker, as a coach, as an author. And then I'm also on LinkedIn as Nelza Katoja, and on Facebook. Facebook, I'm very particular because I share quite a few kind of funny sides about Nelza. So that's if we connect on a good level, then I'll invite you to Facebook too.
Absolutely. Wow. It's just been an incredible, wonderful, exceptional conversation with each and every one of you. So just very quickly, what advice would you give to any of our listeners who is listening today, who is trying to basically amplify his or her voice? How would you sort of encourage them to be able to do that? I'll go to Mary.
I think just mindsets, right? I'll say 3 things, and I would 3 very quick things. One is mindset. Understand that your voice is unique and is important, and if you're not sharing your message, then why are you in the room, right? So we're in the room of this world, then you can share something. So the mindset that you're not important, nobody cares, nobody's going to listen, all of that is, you need to kind of take that out. So definitely focusing on a healthier mindset that my voice is needed, and my voice could be just the voice that somebody's waiting to hear. My story is just a story somebody has been potentially waiting to hear. And so that's one thing. So definitely around that mindset. Second thing is mastery. Know how to share your voice. Over time, you're not going to start out being perfect. So many of us who are here, it sounds like, oh yeah, she's just speaking, and it just blah, 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 blah. But it took years. It took years. It took for me. I remember like maybe about 10 years ago, like completely, folding over in a ball because I was just so nervous, So over time, be okay with being a novice, but know that you will be a master. Right? Be okay being nervous, but know that you'll be a master as long as you're consistently practicing and building mastery around the skill of sharing and amplifying your story and your voice. And then finally, figure out your own authentic message. Don't try and be anybody else. Don't try and mimic somebody else. Don't try to do anything else. Be you, because there is a very unique journey, and you can see with all of the journeys here, we all came from different places, different spaces. We've navigated, and all of those experiences are forming our message. And that message continues to evolve until we get into the grave. And even some of us, our message will continue to evolve even beyond the grave. And so understand that you are so unique. But mindset, mastery, messaging, that's what I would say about amplifying your voice.
Mic drop. Thank you, Mary.
Love that. Love that.
Nelza?
I would say you've got to feel the fear and do it anyway. And we've got so many platforms now where you can just go live. I know one of our recent queens decided to do join a challenge with a group of people that every day they've got to show up and share a message. If you're feeling too fearful to start on your own because you don't know what to do, join a challenge. There's so many free challenges out there that's going to help you to be visible. So one of the things that I do with my clients right from the beginning, especially if they're not that visible, I make them be visible. I hold them accountable. It doesn't matter. You can share something for 5 minutes. Next day, 10 minutes. Next day, 50 minutes. But please do not go and share a message for an hour to 2 hours. People get bored and switch off. Keep it very succinct in terms of what you want to share. If you've got it, write it out before you do. Just do it. With time, practice makes perfect. And if you've got a purpose, if your gift is to share something, to help somebody else, you're not doing yourself or anybody justice by keeping it to yourself. So you just got to get started.
Thank you so much, Nelza. And you as well, Victoria?
I will say, like the 2 ladies have already said, echoing on that, please take the risk. It's worth it. It's worth it. Feel the fear and take the risk anyway, because you just don't know. People have started with nothing. People have started with very little. People have started with a lot, you know. Everybody's journey is different. But because you have a passion and a desire and a dream, a vision, you got to birth it somehow. You can't keep it held in, which is the title of this podcast. Birth your vision. You have a vision. You mulling over it and just should I, could I, should I, would I, you know. Unless you step out of your comfort zone, like we said, you're never gonna know what would have come of it. And even if you know you tried it and it didn't work out, don't try not to use the word negative words like failure. But failing is not bad, like Mary said earlier. A lot of our counterparts fail, and when they fail, they just get up and keep moving. They fail successfully, you know. So we should be able to take the courage and just say, let me give it a try. There's no harm in trying. Once you've tried it, if it wasn't as successful as you would have hoped, then just, you know, say to yourself, learn from it. Learn from what didn't go right so you can start again and do it better. So yeah, that's what I would advise.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies. And it's a wrap. Thank you all for watching and also for listening today. And we've come to the end of a powerful episode of the Birth Your Vision podcast. I certainly hope that you found inspiration and insight in our discussion today. I would like to basically just express my huge thanks to our amazing guests, Mary, Nelza, and Victoria, for sharing their incredible stories, as well as their perspectives on amplifying their own voices and also, you know, helping us to be able to understand their journey and how they got to where they are. And of course, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to all our wonderful listeners. You make this podcast possible every week. And, you know, your support, your engagement and your listenership means a world to us. So just before we part ways, I just wanted to just to let you know that we will be back again next week to be able to give you more episodes. And so you have an opportunity to actually go ahead and download our free gift today, which is the podcast launch checklist for those who are in business and want to start their own podcast to be able to amplify their voices. And so without further ado, I would just like to say thank you so much. Until next time, my name is Hannah Kupoluyi, signing off from the Birth Your Vision podcast. And I just wanted to remember that your story has the power to shape narratives and also amplify your voice. So thank you so much for being part of this incredible journey. So over to you, ladies. Thank you so much. Have a great evening and stay blessed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.